You look to when you get a serious medical diagnosis. What do you do next? What self-health care can you do to augment your healing process? And is it type of a disease, or is it type of a medical condition that's going to be maybe for a prolonged period of time or potentially lifelong? So those questions come up, and a lot of people turn to get some information. And I want to just share. I got two perspectives I'm going to share from today. One is as a pharmacist. And the other is the owner of RxHealthyHabits, because I believe you're going to realize after listening to this video podcast that you really need to embrace a path to get better by using allopathic healthcare and also self-health care that we call, which is taking care of yourself. And both of them are going to work hand in hand. Matter of fact, I believe that really you're going to have a much better outcome if you embrace both. So I'm going to go through and talk about some topics to consider. I'm going to really talk about 8 points. I'm going to try to do it quickly because I don't like long podcasts or videos. That's kind of a thing that if I can't get it done in 10 minutes. Now here's the thing. I'm going to keep it under 10 minutes, but I'm going to tell you that my blogs that's on my website, there's going to be one on this topic. It's going to have a lot more places for you to dig with some references, some links to click on from NIH, from WebMD, from some very credible resources: American Cancer Society, American Diabetes Society, American Heart Association. Those are going to be places I'm going to send you to, because you can find some other things, but I like to start with some of the ones that I know and trust as a healthcare professional. So on the other hand, as you know, RxHealthyHabits, I'm also going to encourage you to check out our content, because we have a lot of information on how to develop healthy habits. RxHealthyHabits, Pharmacist Rx. Our goal is to help you learn a lifestyle pattern that's really going to put you in a good position. Even if you're diagnosed with something that's serious, there might be some things you could do to really mitigate some of those effects. So number one, self-education. I believe most people should, when they find they have a diagnosis from a doctor, they should find out more about it themselves. And there's so much information out there. Years ago, we did not have that. You had to trust the information you got, and you were usually spoon-fed information that you got from your provider because there was nothing else out there. Well, now there's so much out there, and you have so much access. And I really encourage you to do that, to look, especially when you get diagnosed. I think it's sad when someone comes into my pharmacy and they don't know what medication or why they're taking certain medications. And when I talk to them about the disease state, they have no clue. And to me, I'm like, wait, you own this disease state and you don't know anything about it? Come on, right? So self-education, critical for you to really get a handle on you being able to deal with this diagnosis. Number two, treatment options. A lot of people, when they first get diagnosed, they look at options. And I think it's a good idea, because one size doesn't fit all, but also a lot of times people, I think, assume that there's going to be just one path to get healthy. And normally it is following the advice of your doctor when it comes to some disease states, without a shadow of a doubt. But treatment options, what are they? And go through and look at some of those, and you can explore some complementary alternative ones. We'll talk about that in a minute. But I think you really need to know what the options are. And I think a lot of times people don't spend the time to find out. Number three, alternative medicine or complementary therapies. Yes, you can look into those, like herbal medicines, acupuncture, meditation, maybe mindful practices. Fine. I would also make sure your doctor knows that you're pursuing some of those. But here's the thing. Some of those may have some effect, especially mindfulness practices. I'm going to caution you, though, when it comes to natural remedies or herbals, I'm going to caution you. It just because it's natural doesn't mean it's necessarily safe and effective. And in many cases, the interactions with prescription drugs are over the top. And it's funny, sometimes people say, well, I'm going to take a natural thing to control my cholesterol, so I'm going to take red yeast rice. It's very similar to statin, how it works, so that's not really a big difference. You're just taking one that's over the counter, and if your dose is wrong, you can get in trouble. There's also some drug interactions with that. And then another one is St. John's wort. I don't want to take all these prescriptions for depression, so I'm going to take St. John's wort. Well, it's a serotonin reuptake inhibitor. It works like some of the other ones on the market. So anyway. Number four, lifestyle change. Yes, yes, and yes. I think you really need to look at that, because this priority of finding a way to dietary modification, exercise routines, reducing stress, and improving, most importantly, I think, is sleep quality. So big. If your body's going to heal and get you on the right track, you got to get sleep. Most Americans do not get enough sleep. Dietary considerations, of course, from RxHealthyHabits. I believe it's very important for people to really think about what they're eating. And some conditions are going to require you to really make some big dietary considerations for modifications. Like if you have diabetes, obviously, you're going to be dialing down some of your carbohydrate intakes. If you have high blood pressure, you may be looking at sodium. If you have some chronic disease, autoimmune states, you may be looking at reducing your amount of food that's highly inflammatory, like, highly processed foods, but also, highly fatty foods, fried foods. All are going to cause more problems. A lot of people complain that have these chronic disease states that they're much worse when they go off the rails and eat a lot of greasy, fatty foods, fast foods especially. Number 6, symptoms management. Huge. People have pain, discomfort, nausea, fatigue, and other symptoms that arise, and they're always searching for ways to help deal with those. That is so important, and you should, because you shouldn't have to live in misery with some of these disease states all the time. Now, sometimes there's things you're not going to escape with some of the disease states, but I tell you what, don't assume that there's not some things we can do to help, and you can ask your doctor, your pharmacist, it's all there. And I tell you what, some people needlessly go through it with a disease state and don't look at that. Number 7, emotional support. Now, a diagnosis brings a lot of emotional distress. And unfortunately, a lot of times we start turning to people we know. Maybe we go to friends, relatives, acquaintances for advice. And sometimes that's a very bad thing to get advice on how to treat the disease state. But emotional support, sometimes, just somebody that can listen and hear what you're going through. And if you're on the other end of that and somebody's got a chronic disease state or a serious medical diagnosis, they're not looking for a lot of answers. They're not looking for you to fix it. They really are just want you there to listen and to be empathetic and just listen. So, support. You can seek some communities where you can connect with other people going through it. That's always a good idea. Some people really need more than others, but I don't think you should not think that some wouldn't be beneficial. Now, the next thing is number 8, support networks. There's a lot of things right now online, too, that you can tie into. There's some community things you can go to and do in face, but there's a lot of online support, social media communities, Facebook groups, so much that people are going through the same thing you are. And years ago, we didn't have that at our fingertips. We didn't have that available, so important. So again, I believe that one of the most important things you could do is when you get a diagnosis is to stop and really dig in a little bit and start looking, how you can help, augment your recovery, or if it's going to be a long-term condition, how can you make it as minimally disruptive to your life as possible by getting some education, by digging deeper. And of course, please come to our blog, RxHealthyHabits.com, for more information on this topic. And as always, come to our website. We have over 285 videos now, and we have, I don't know how many dozen blogs. We have so much information on there. I was going through the other day, I was like, holy mackerel, I can't believe how much is here. So our videos and our podcast too, Rx Healthy Habits podcast series, if you like to listen to stuff in the car, I would recommend, if I was you, I would recommend you get on Rx Healthy Habits weekly email. That's a 1 or 2 minute read, and in that email I embed videos and blogs on the topic I'm covering, and this one's going to be obviously an email embedded with a video and embedded with a blog. And why do I say that that's the most efficient way? Because it comes in your email once a week, and if it interests you, it's all right at your fingertips. You don't have to go searching. So highly recommend it. If you want to opt in, just send me an email at rxhealthyhabits@gmail.com and say, I want to opt into your great email list, and I'll put you on, okay? So until next video podcast, stay healthy, get stronger, and find a way when you get a diagnosis, unfortunately, how you can live with it and actually thrive with it. So, till next video podcast.